Hello everyone, welcome back. This is regarding the news video here, also talking about a couple of game reviews. Today we're going to be talking about the All-Star game and the past two games that happened yesterday as we get back into the regular schedule of NHL hockey. We also will talk about some of the waiver updates, injury updates, a couple of signings to talk about, some more updates on the 2018 Junior team, some more updates on the Arizona Coyotes arena situation, and which teams are going to be buyers or sellers at this year's trade deadline in the Western Conference. We'll get to all of that coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the Internet Hockey Chat. Before we get into this video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe down below. Thank you for all of your support. I would never been able to do this with all of you guys. So don't forget to subscribe so we can do 250 subscribers. Now, I'm going to begin today's video off by just doing a quick channel update. So over the past couple of days, we haven't done any game review videos, given the fact that there haven't been too many games to talk about with the All-Star break happening. But we're going to be getting back into the game review videos on Thursday. So Thursday, expect another 2 videos of one game review, one news video. We're going to be doing that over the next little while. So this Thursday and Saturday we're going to do 2 videos again. The entirety of next week, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. My usual recording days, I'm going to do 2 videos as well, game reviews, news videos. However, 2 weeks today, I'm going to be doing another playoff preview as of the standings as of February 19th, 2024. So I'll be doing another game preview there. But that's also going to be my last game review video until after the trade deadline. After the February 20th video, I'm going to take off a couple of weeks to focus on the trade deadline and all the trades and stuff and big news pieces that will be happening over those 2.5 week period of time. So just a reminder to let you guys know, over the next 2 weeks I'll be going back to doing game review videos on top of doing the news videos, but then after that I'll be doing just one news video per day, and I might do a couple other things like I did this week, and there's definitely going to be a ton of trade videos to discuss as well. So just to let you guys know that, and I also am planning on doing a live video on March 8th in the morning on trade deadline day, so definitely stay tuned for that. It'll be really interesting to see who winds up going places on March 8th. So if you can, stay tuned for March 8th. Probably going to do around 9:30 in the morning Pacific time. So stay tuned for the live video, and just remember that over the next couple of weeks you're going to have 2 videos on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday until 2 weeks from now when we're going to do the last one, and then we're going to have only one video Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, but a ton of other trade rumor videos. So we're going to have to wait and see on that. But that's sort of the channel update we want to discuss here today. Going over quickly to a couple of game review pieces here to discuss first. But just a quickly update here, we had the All-Star games happen on Saturday, so lots of interesting action there. We started off with Team McKinnon playing Team McDavid in the first game. Remember, they drafted players this year, so each team was able to draft the players they wanted to. There was a Team Hughes with Quinn Hughes, Jack Hughes, who never played in the All-Star game, and Elias Pettersson. There was Team Matthews with Matthews and Riley. There was Team McKinnon with McKinnon and Makar, and there was Team McDavid with McDavid and Draisaitl. So Team McDavid had Draisaitl, Pastrnak, McDavid, Suzuki, Jenner, Hurdle, Reinhart, Thomas, and Dahlin as the skaters, with Bobrovsky and Hellebuyck as the goaltenders. And Team McKinnon had McKinnon, Crosby, Konechny, Bjorkstrand, Lindholm, Aho, Wilson, Kaprizov, Makar, with in net Swayman and Georgiev. So those were the 2 teams that played in the first game, as McKinnon played McDavid. And in the first period, McKinnon will open the scoring from Makar and Crosby to give the Team McKinnon a 1-0 lead. Then Jenner would score from Suzuki and Hurdle to make it a 1-1 game. That's the way the first period ended. Then the second period, Bjorkstrand would score 5 minutes and 51 seconds into the period from Konechny and Lindholm to make it 2-1 McKinnon. And then McKinnon scored a second of the game from Crosby and Makar to make it 3-1 Team McKinnon. And it looked like Team McKinnon was going to win, but then Pastrnak scored from McDavid and Draisaitl with 32 seconds left, making it 3-2. And then with 6 seconds left, McDavid tied it from Pastrnak and Draisaitl to make it a 3-3 game. Great stuff there for Team McDavid. And then after that, they went to a shootout. And in the shootout, McDavid would score, giving Team McDavid a 1-0 lead in the shootout. Then Crosby got saved, Draisaitl got saved, McKinnon got saved, and Pastrnak also scored for Team McDavid, which put the game to bed. So McDavid and Pastrnak both scored in a shootout to help Team McDavid come from behind and beat Team McKinnon 4-3 in a shootout. McKinnon scored twice, Crosby had 2 assists, and Bjorkstrand also scored for the Team McKinnon in the loss, while Draisaitl had 2 assists, Pastrnak and McDavid had a goal and an assist, and Jenner also scored for Team McDavid in the win. So very good stuff there for Team McDavid and Team McKinnon, and a really interesting game in between those 2. Then in the other semifinal game, which was the next game, we had Team Matthews play Team Hughes. So on Team Hughes, you had Brock Besser, Brady Tkachuk, JT Miller, Elias Pettersson, Jesper Bratt, Frank Vatrano, Connor, Kucherov, Kucherov and Hughes, with Demko and Talbot in net. And on Team Matthews, you had Forsberg, Keller, Barzal, Trocheck, Marner, Matthews, Nylander, DeBrincat, Riley, Ottinger, and Shesterkin. So those were your goalies on Team Matthews. Now, Kucherov unassisted opened the scoring for Team Hughes to make it 1-0. Then DeBrincat tied it up. His first of the All-Star game from Forsberg and Barzal made it 1-1. Then Vetrano made it 2-1 Team Hughes from Talbot and Hughes. And then DeBrincat had an unassisted goal, his second of the game, to make it 2-2. That's the way the first period ended in this All-Star game, 2-2. Then Marner opened the scoring from Keller and Matthews to make it 3-2 Team Matthews. Then Pettersson tied it at 3 thanks to Vetrano and Kucherov, making it a 3-all game. Then Forsberg made it 4-3 Team Matthews from Trocheck and Barzal. Then Tkachuk tied it up at 4-4 for Team Hughes from Hughes and Connor. Then quickly after, Vetrano scored a second of the game from Hughes and Connor to make it a 5-4 Team Hughes lead. And then Forsberg scored from DeBrincat and Barzal to make it a 5-5 game. So it was 5-5 going into the shootout. And in the shootout, Forsberg got saved, Connor got saved, Matthews got saved, Kucherov got saved, Nylander got saved, Pettersson got saved, and DeBrincat would score with Miller getting saved. So DeBrincat gets the lone shield goal scorer, and Team Matthews winds up defeating Team Hughes 6-5 in a shootout. Very good stuff there for Team Matthews, who ends up going to the final to face Team McDavid. Hughes had 3 assists in that game. Vetrano had 2 goals and 8 assists. Connor had 2 assists. Kucherov had a goal and 8 assists, and Tkachuk and Pettersson also scored for Team Hughes in the shootout loss. While Forsberg had 2 goals and 8 assists, Barzal had 3 assists, DeBrincat also had 2 goals and 8 assists, and Marner also scored for Team Matthews in the win. So a very good game there from Team Matthews, a very complete effort, and it was a very good game there from Team Matthews and Team McDavid, who wound up going to the final game. And this one did not need a shootout. Keller would open the scoring in the first period for Matthews and Riley, making it 1-0 Team Matthews. Jenner would tie the game up from Suzuki, making it 1-1. Then Matthews took another lead thanks to Marner's goal from Nylander and Trocheck. Then Pastrnak scored from Drysdale, making it 2-2. Then Matthews scored from Keller, making it 3-2 Team Matthews. And then Drysdale would score from McDavid and Pastrnak, making it 3-3. That's the way the first period ended. Then the second period, Forsberg scored from Barzal and DeBrincat, making it 4-3 Team Matthews. Matthews scored from Keller and Barzal, making it 5-3 Team Matthews. DeBrincat scored an unassisted empty net goal, making it 6-3 Team Matthews. Hurdle would then score for Team McDavid from Drysdale and Suzuki, making it 6-4. But then Barzal would score from DeBrincat and Forsberg, making it 7-4 for Team Matthews, who wound up winning the tournament. So very good stuff there for Team Matthews, who winds up winning the tournament. For Team McDavid, Drysdale had a goal and 2 assists. Suzuki had 2 assists. Pastrnak had a goal and 8 assists. Jenner and Hurdle also scored for the Team McDavid in the loss. Well, for Team Matthews, Keller had a goal and 2 assists. Barzal had a goal and 2 assists. DeBrincat had a goal and 2 assists. Matthews had 2 goals and 8 assists. Forsberg had a goal and 8 assists. Marner also scored for the Team Matthews in the loss. So Team Matthews beats Team Hughes 6-5 in a shootout. Team McDavid beats Team McKinnon 4-3 in a shootout, and then Team Matthews beats Team McDavid in the final 7-4. So a very good, entertaining All-Star game there from a lot of different places. Very entertaining and very good stuff there. So we had the All-Star game played on Saturday. We had nothing be happening on Sunday. No draft, no All-Star game, no skills competition, nothing on Sunday. And then Monday we got back into the regular action of NHL hockey. First, the New York Islanders played the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then the Avalanche played the New York Rangers. So the New York Rangers were down 1-0, would score twice and come back to beat the Colorado Avalanche 2-1 in overtime. Very good win there as they improved to 31-16-3, dropping the Avalanche to 32-14-4. So not good stuff there for the Avalanche. For the New York Rangers, Panarin and Lafreniere, who had the 0-2 winner, were 2 goal scorers in the win. While for the Avalanche, McKinnon was the lone goal scorer. He continued to extend his point streak. So very good stuff there for McKinnon. Decent game there from the Avalanche. They had the lead for most of this game and were still able to get a point, but still as OT lost to the Rangers, so not great stuff there for New York. And then for the New York Islanders, they blew a couple of 1-goal leads, but recovered to beat the Leafs thanks to a late game winner from Pierre Engvall, as the Islanders beat the Leafs 3-2, ending their 3-game losing streak and improving to 21-17-12. So very good stuff there for the Islanders, dropping the leads to 25-15-8. So not great stuff stuff there for Toronto. Barzal, McLean, who had a first career NHL goal, and Engvall were the 3 goal scorers for the Islanders in the win. With Tavares had a goal and an assist, and Marner also scored for the Leafs in the loss. Not a great game there from the Leafs, who definitely had this game close and it was interesting, but they do end up losing regulation. So not great stuff there for Toronto. So Islanders are able to improve, while the Leafs continue to falter a little bit. So bad stuff there for Toronto. But still, interesting first couple of games after the All-Star break. Like I said, we'll have another game review video on Thursday now that the All-Star break is done. And on top of that, we have 8 games scheduled for later today, 3 games scheduled for Wednesday. So going to be some interesting action here coming out of the All-Star break. But definitely some interesting stuff there over the past couple of days. Going over to a couple of quick signing updates here. First, the Montreal Canadiens have signed center Brandon Gignac to a 2-year contract with an AAV of $775,000, and a deal begin for the rest of this year and for next year. So for Gignac, he was a 2016 third-round pick of the Devils who's never really amounted to anything. He spent most of his time with the Devils. He's then spent some time in the Montreal Canadiens AHL affiliate, not signed with the Canadiens, but in the AHL affiliate of the Canadiens. He's having a career year this year in the AHL, putting up 14 goals and 28 assists, 42 points in 43 games, almost a point per game in the AHL. Decent player. Definitely doesn't look like he's going to be an NHL player at any point, but he could be a decent call-up option, especially with the Canadiens being a team who consistently winds up getting injured. So decent signing there. It's not going to be a huge signing. Like I said, it's going to be a call-up option at best. He only has 1 game of NHL action, which was in the 18-19 season with the New Jersey Devils. So he doesn't have any NHL action, basically. He's probably just going to be an AHL depth addition there for the Canadiens, but at least he gets an NHL contract and can be called up if need be. So very good stuff there for Gignac to get his NHL contract, and hopefully he'll be able to make the most of this opportunity. But I wouldn't expect him to get into any NHL action unless there was injuries for the Montreal Canadiens, so we'll have to wait and see there. But we also got another one from the Pittsburgh Penguins, and it was one of their PTO signings. The Pittsburgh Penguins, who signed Jesse Puljujarvi to a PTO earlier in the year, have signed him to a 2-year contract with the AAV of $800,000, and he'll begin for this year and next year. So very good stuff there for Puljujarvi to finally get himself a contract. Last year wasn't the best of seasons for Puljujarvi. He played in 75 NHL games, only putting up 5 goals and 16 points with the Oilers and the Canes combined. So far this year, he has 4 goals, 9 points in 13 games with the Penguins AHL affiliates, starting to try and gain up some speed after his recovery from surgery in the offseason, and now he's going to be able to get back into game action. So I expect Puljujarvi to probably be either 3rd or 4th line forward in Pittsburgh. I think he'll definitely get a couple of looks. He may be a spare a couple of times too. He's definitely been injured for quite some time, so I wouldn't be overly shocked if he was brought up to speed slowly. I think it's very likely that's a possibility. So it's quite possible, but I think this is a very likely and good signing there for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Puljujarvi has some potential as like a decent middle 6 scorer, and I think for a Penguins team that's sort of falling out of the playoff race a little bit right now, this is something they could really use. So that's a really good sign there for Puljujarvi to get another initial opportunity, for the Penguins to add another bottom 6 forward, and hopefully it works out for both sides and they can both work it out really well. So it'll be interesting to see, but Puljujarvi's another bottom 6 addition there for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I'll have to wait and see how he does over there, so interesting stuff there. Then we'll go over to a couple of waiver updates. We talked about this on Saturday about Julien Gauthier being placed on waivers. I said there's a possibility he could clear as a decent bottom 6 player, decent 4th line forward, but I thought that he'll probably wind up clearing. He did wind up clearing, so not overly surprised there. Like I said, he'll probably wind up clearing, and he did wind up doing that. But on Saturday, we also saw 2 players be placed on waivers. First, it was Hanifin and Prosvetov with the Colorado Avalanche. Second, it was Brayden Pachal with the Vegas Golden Knights. Pachal's a decent 7th defenseman for Golden Knights. He's not able to crack that really great top 6 D-core at this point in time for the Vegas Golden Knights. So with Vegas having some of their players starting to get healthier, they needed to place someone on waivers, and that one will be in Pachal. As for Prosvetov, he's a decent backup goaltender, but he hasn't really worked out overly well as Georgiev's backup this year after they acquired him on waivers from the Arizona Coyotes. So at this point in time, Prosvetov's going to go place on the minors to see if he can wind up clearing, getting back into AHL action. I was expecting Pachal to probably clear, so there might have been a couple of teams out there who could definitely use some more defensive help, so I thought maybe with him being a little bit more on the younger side, he could possibly be claimed. Prosvetov, I know there's a lot of teams out there who need some goaltending help. Not sure if he's the best of backups, but I thought there was also a possibility that Prosvetov could wind up being claimed. But Prosvetov wound up clearing, Pachal got claimed. Pachal wound up getting claimed by the Calgary Flames, while Prosvetov cleared and was sent back down to the minors for the Colorado Avalanche. So obviously Prosvetov has not worked out overly well there. The Coyotes could have had a chance to reclaim him. They didn't. So Prosvetov's going to go back to the minors for the Colorado Avalanche, and hopefully he'll be able to do really good and get a call-up option for a time being. And Union is going to be the backup for the Colorado Avalanche. Really good stuff there for Colorado. Meanwhile, Pachal, I can see why the Calgary Flames want to acquire him. Hanifin and Tanev are most likely on their way out of Calgary, more or less likely. And with those two guys both being out, there's no guarantee they'll get defensemen in both of those returns. So with that being said, they could definitely use a couple of depth defensemen to sort of round out the roster for a time being. And Pachal, I think, could be a really good third pair defenseman for the Calgary Flames. So really good pickup there for the Calgary Flames to get a solid third pair defenseman who can definitely help in their team, especially with Hanifin and Tanev probably being gone in the not too distant future. Well, Prosvetov, I thought could have gone claimed given all the goaltending help that was needed out there, but he winds up clearing. So very good stuff there for the waiver update. No new waiver updates as of right now, so very good stuff there. Prosvetov cleared waivers, and Pachal's placed on waivers and claimed by the Calgary Flames. So interesting waiver updates there. Going over to a couple of injury updates in the past couple of days. Not too much here to talk about, but there's a couple of really decent ones. So Patrick Maroon has an undisclosed injury, as does David Kampf. Maroon's going to be out for an unknown period of time, Kampf day to day. Matthias Samuelsson has an upper body injury. He's going to be out for the rest of the season, so that's an awful blow for the Buffalo Sabres. While Hudson Fasching has a lower body injury and is out day to day, so bad news for the Islanders, so really bad stuff there. Then we saw Bobby McMahon in Toronto, Mark Scheifele in Winnipeg, Brendan Dillon in Winnipeg, Anton Malmstrom, who was on season opening injury reserve for the St. Louis Blues, Ryan Pulock in New York I, Adam Pelech in New York I, Eric Johnson and Zemgus Girgensons in Buffalo, Lindgren in New York Rangers, Nosek with the New Jersey Devils, and Marc-Andre Fleury with the Minnesota Wild, all be cleared to play and should be able to get back in the game action in the next couple of days. So very good stuff there. Lots of players getting placed off of injury reserve. Good to see Pelech get back, Pulock get back, Ryan Lindgren get back, all those guys get back in the game action. Scheifele and Dillon should get back in the game action soon. Eric Johnson, Zemgus Girgensons, Marc-Andre Fleury. Very good stuff there to see all these guys get back in the game action for their teams. Hopefully in the not too distant future, but still really bad injury updates for Samuelsson, for Maroon, and for Kampf. So really bad injury updates there, and hopefully those guys are not going to be out for too long. And Samuelson's case, hopefully he recovers well and gets back for next season. So bad stuff there. And then going over to a couple of quick updates here surrounding the Arizona Coyotes arena situation and surrounding the 2018 World Junior team. First with the 2018 World Junior team, like we said, Monday, February 5th, which was yesterday, the London Police scheduled a press conference to talk about what they found out and what they're doing about the 5 players in the 2018 World Junior scandal. Apparently every one of the 5 players, which was Michael McLeod, Cal Foote, Carter Hart, Dylan Dubé, and Alex Formanton, who were in that 2018 World Junior case, have been charged with 1 count of sexual assault. For Michael McLeod, he's apparently gotten a 2nd count of sexual assault for aiding the offense, so not great stuff there for those guys. Apparently there's going to be another court hearing on April 30th, so you would expect that none of these guys are going to be able to play for, at the very least, the rest of the season, but most likely it's going to be extremely longer than that. Interesting thing to note for this too is all these guys, Formanton was already playing overseas, but for the other 4, their contracts all expire this year. They're all going to be RFAs this year, so there's a very likely chance that none of those guys will end up signing with those players. So it'll be interesting to see, but this is going to take a long process to see exactly what's going to happen to those players. But for a time being, we know that they're being charged of, so we at least know that they're probably going to be away from the game for quite some time. I think the NHL has also said that they're going to give some sort of cap relief to the teams who have the players out on the infinite leaves of absence. So for the Flames, Devils, and Flyers, they may get a little bit more money to work with, especially around the trade deadline, so that'll be interesting to see. But still, really interesting stuff there, interesting developments. The London Police apologized to the victim for taking so long, and hopefully justice is served for that victim. But really bad stuff there, and hopefully those guys are punished justly. So going to be interesting to see where this turns to next, but we now know what the players are facing, and we now know they're probably not going to come back to hockey at the very least this year, but most likely probably for the next couple of seasons at the very least. So we'll have to wait and see how that works out. But definitely it sounds like they're going to be probably long-term suspensions after the court stuff is all done with. So we'll have to wait and see how that works. And on top of that, the Arizona Coyotes situation is getting continued speculation from a lot of people. There's been a lot of interesting developments there over the past week. On Friday, we talked about how Gary Bettman was going to speak on his press conference. We talked about, like we said, the Olympics and the 4 Nations Nation face-off next year. Probably not going to have any All-Star games over the next 2 seasons with the 4-Nation face-off. Team Canada, Team USA, Finland, and Sweden playing a best-on-best tournament with just those 4 countries next off-season. And then we also have the Olympics the year after, so we're probably not going to see any All-Star games. But on top of that, he also discussed expansion, considering that he says that they're still not in expansion mode. Not too surprising at that point in time. Cities like KC, Houston, Atlanta, and it's surprising when it's Cincinnati all continue to express interest. I can see Houston and Atlanta being the first 2 to get NHL teams via expansion. KC I could also see be a team who has really a lot of interest in expansion. I could see definitely them look to try and add. On top of that, Cincinnati, I don't think it'll be an expansion for the near future, but if they were to eventually go to 40 teams, I think there is a possibility it could go to a city like Cincinnati. So it's going to be interesting to see, but definitely he talked about expansion a little bit too, about why Atlanta might get a third opportunity, about why Quebec City is not on the list at this point in time. But on top of that, he was also talking about the Arizona Coyotes situation, and I've seen a lot of reports from this. First, he did say that he is reasonably confident that the Arizona Coyotes will be able to figure out the arena situation, but I've seen a couple of people, including Frank Saravalli, state that he said that with a little bit of hesitation, whereas in the past, when he's talking about the Coyotes, he's really been right on the ball about that. So it's a little bit weird that he's not overly confident that the owner can definitely get a new arena worked out. And on top of that, after the press conference was done for Gary Bettman, Marty Walsh came out, who is the NHLPA director, and he went on a very long tirade about the Arizona Coyotes, saying how he's very disappointed in Arizona. He says they've blown past 2 set dates to get a new NHL arena plan in place, and they haven't had one of those. He says that they've been avoiding calls from the NHLPA to talk about them, because it seems like there is a very likely possibility that players are having complaints about playing in Arizona right now. So it seems like Arizona's a really big mess. Elliot Friedman talked about this, as well as Frank Saravalli on their podcasts. On Elliot Friedman's podcast, he said that he was talking about this. He said that it's not looking good right now. He says that, especially, once again reiterated that if Arizona were to leave, they would definitely go back there via expansion. He says that Gary Bettman's fought tooth and nail for the Arizona Coyotes, but it does seem like even he thinks at this point in time that maybe it's possible that Arizona does remain in Arizona over the next little while. And he does think that's going to be an interesting situation to watch out for. Something that we haven't really talked about over much, but if they were to sell a team, he does stress if. How would they do that? Like, given the fact that Alex Morel is currently the owner of the Arizona Coyotes, would they try and sell it? He does think that's going to be interesting to see exactly how they would do the selling process and stuff like that. So it's going to be an interesting situation to watch out for. Frank Saravalli was talking about this on his podcast. He thinks that the situation is going to come to a head in the next couple of weeks, possibly month or 2, and he thinks that there's basically 3 options. 1, Arizona is able to find a piece of land. They can start building it in the not too distant future. 2nd, the NHL will take the ownership group from Morello, try and find another ownership group in Arizona, and then privately fund a new arena situation. So that could be another option. Or 3, which I think at this point in time, it sounds like it's probably the most likely, is they move to Salt Lake City and become a new team in Salt Lake. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens, but Frank Saravalli does think that it's going to come to a head in the not too distant future, and it's a situation we're going to have to watch out for. So definitely some interesting stuff there, but it's going to be interesting situation to watch out for. The World Junior thing is probably going to take a little while, so don't expect too many more updates on the World Junior thing. But for the Arizona Coyotes situation, I agree with Frank Saravalli. Maybe not a couple of weeks. I'm not sure if they would really want to do some sort of big announcement while the season's still running or while the trade deadline's still in place, but I think in the next couple of months we're definitely going to have some sort of an update, whether it's Arizona getting a new arena or whether it's Arizona moving to Salt Lake City. We'll have to wait and see on that, but definitely some really interesting breakthroughs there from those 2 things. And then lastly here, going over to a quick trade rumor part of the video. Now, instead of doing trade rumors, I'm going to do a part 1, part 2 video here. For today, I'm going to be talking about the buyers and sellers in the Western Conference. Now, basically, put this into 3 categories at this point in time. I'm going to do the Eastern Conference in my next video on Thursday, but today I'm going to be doing the Western Conference. So basically, we have the teams who I think are going to be absolutely buyers this year, the teams who I think are going to be absolutely sellers this year, and teams who I think could either stand pat or be buyers or sellers this year. So first, the buyers. I think we already figured out that Vancouver and Winnipeg are going to be buyers. The Canucks have already added Elias Lindholm, moving a decent package to get him. The Jets moved a late first-round pick in exchange for adding Sean Monahan. Those 2 have already been confirmed now to be adders. I think Vancouver could definitely look for another middle six forward. I know they've been linked to guys like Frank Vetrano, Jake Gensel. Not exactly sure who they would go after, but those could be some guys they go after. We know they could definitely use them, maybe another like third pair defensemen. So it'll be interesting to see exactly who they try and add, but those are definitely some players that they could try and add before the deadline. I think the Jets could add another bottom six forward. That could definitely help that team. On top of that, I think they could benefit from adding a top four defenseman. I could see a guy like Jacob Chychrun be a fantastic fit in Winnipeg, and I also think they would be willing to move a guy like Logan Stanley or Ville Heinola in order to improve their defensive upgrade at this point in time. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens, but once again, Jets, Canucks, I expect both to be pretty big buyers at this year's trade deadline. I also expect the Avalanche, Stars, Knights, and Oilers to be buyers this year. I'm for sure those guys will be buyers. The Stars, we know that wanted the top four defensemen. I could see them go after a guy like Noah Hanifin, Chris Tanev. Maybe there's another couple of guys out there who would be really good fits in Dallas. So I think they'll definitely look at a top four defenseman. I could also see them add like a bottom six forward. So I see Dallas being a team who winds up adding at the deadline. Colorado is another team who I think could definitely add. We know they want a couple of centers. We know that they could definitely use like a third line center, possibly another middle six forward, especially with Chychrun in the player assistant program right now. On top of that, Landeskog, is he going to be back or not? Definitely, that's going to be an interesting situation to watch out for. Maybe they add another depth defenseman too, so it'll be interesting to see. And also a backup goaltender with Prosvetov now in the minors. I could definitely see this team go out and try and acquire a goaltender who can definitely be a good backup, so that's another interesting situation to watch out for. On top of that, we also have the Vegas Golden Knights. We know the Golden Knights like to add before deadline. Don't think they'll do anything drastic this year, but I could see them add like a third pair defenseman and a third line forward, so it'll be interesting to see how they do. We know the Oilers are linked to adding a big top six forward like a Eberle, like a Gensel, so I could see them add top six forward. I could also see them add some goalie insurance. I don't think they're going to try and add a starting goaltender like they were earlier in the season, but I could see them try and add a better backup than a guy like Calvin Pickard should Stuart's going to be injured, so it'll be interesting to see about that. And on top of that, I could also see them try and add like a second pair of defensemen if they could too, so interesting stuff there. But I think Edmonton, Vegas, Dallas, and Colorado will join Vancouver and Winnipeg as the six for sure buyers in this year's trade deadline. Then for the five teams who I think are going to be either stand pat, buy or sell, or possibly both, will be the LA Kings, St. Louis Blues, Nashville Predators, Seattle Kraken, and Arizona Coyotes. Now I think that the Coyotes are probably going to sell off all of their UFAs. They're 5 points out of the playoff spot right now. Probably going to sell off their UFAs like Dumba and Zucker and a couple of other guys. Stetcher, I could see them even be tempted to move a guy like Vejmelka or Bukestad. But on top of that, they're also a team who we saw in the offseason move a couple of draft picks to improve this team with a younger piece, like a Sean Jersey. So I could see them do the same sort of thing this year at the trade deadline. I could see them go after a guy like Mario Ferraro in San Jose or Capo Calco in New York. If they were able to pull it off, I could definitely see them go after a young player like that. So we'll have to wait and see on that. On top of that, for Seattle, they're 2 points out of the playoffs right now. I could see them move off pieces like Eberle, Wenberg, and Schultz, who are all pending UFAs. Wenberg especially, given the fact he's a center, and the center market is currently a little bit bleak right now after the Monahan and Lindholm trades. But I think there's a very likely chance that the Kraken could also add like a top 9 forward, maybe another defenseman to try and improve their stock for a playoff run. St. Louis, same sort of thing. We know Doug Armstrong, even if he's in a playoff spot, if he doesn't feel confident in his team, he'll move pieces. I could see them move some pending UFAs like Verana, Blais, Kapanen, Scandella, but I could also see him move a couple of bigger pieces like a Pavel Buchnevich or Colton Parayko. So Blues I think could be sellers, but I also think they could try and add like a top 9 forward or maybe try and make some sort of a move to try and improve their blue line too. So it'll be interesting to see what the Blues do. Preds have a ton of players, so they could move at the deadline, including Tyson Barrie, Alex Carrier, Novak, Trennan, who are all UFAs. They could also see move Fabro. There's been some talk about Saros. So the Predators have a lot of trade chips here for this year's trade deadline, so I could definitely see them be sellers. But given the fact they're in the playoffs right now, I could also see them be buyers, maybe add like another 1 or 2 top 9 forwards. So it's going to be interesting to see what Nashville does, but I could see them go either way. The Kings, same sort of thing. They have a couple of pending UFAs that if things got worse enough, I think they could possibly move off, like a Vic Arvidsson, like a Matt Roy, although I think of those 5 teams, LA is probably the least likely to be sellers at this year's trade deadline. I think at the most they'll probably stand pat, but I could also see them try and add in the goaltending side of things, or possibly maybe like a third pair of defensemen or something like that. So I could definitely see the Kings do one of those 2 things, so we'll have to wait and see how that works out. And then we also have 5 teams who I think are going to be for sure sellers at this year's trade deadline. First, the Calgary Flames. We already know they're going to be sellers. They've already sold off Lindholm. They're probably going to move Hanifin and Tanev too. There's still some talk around Markstrom. So it'll be interesting to see exactly who winds up leaving, but I think the Flames are going to be some sellers before their trade deadline. Minnesota's going to be sellers, and I don't have too many trade assets after signing Zuccarello, Hartman, and Foligno before the season started, but I could see them move a guy like Marc-Andre Fleury, Pat Maroon, Brandon Duhaime, a couple of decent UFAs, so it could still get some attention on the trade market. So we'll have to wait and see how Minnesota does. On top of that, the three lowest teams, the three basement dwellers in the Western Conference, I think will all be sellers. Hawks, for sure, going to be sellers. No, they signed Dickinson, Foligno, Mrazek, so they don't have as many pending UFAs they could move. But I could see move guys like Blackwell. I could see move a guy like Tyler Johnson. I do wonder about guys like Andrea Athanasiou or Connor Murphy if they have some interest on the trade market. So definitely, I think the Hawks are going to move a couple of pieces. On top of that, Sharks. Ton of pending UFAs. Kaapo Kähkönen in nets is going to be a pending UFA this year. They also have a lot of forward UFAs like LeBanc, Hoffman, Duclair, amongst others. So I could see the Sharks be an extremely busy team, especially with them being completely awful this year. Moving a lot of pieces. They could also see move a guy like Mackenzie Blackwood. If they got the right asking price, maybe a guy like Mario Ferraro. So it'll be interesting to see how the Sharks do. And on top of that, Anaheim Ducks probably also going to be sellers. Henrik's probably going to get dealt. Vertrano's a very likely option to get dealt for the Anaheim Ducks. Leo Bushkin on the black end. I could see him still trying to trade John Gibson, so it'll be interesting to see exactly who ends up being moved. But I definitely do think that there's a very likely chance that the Ducks are going to be another huge seller at this year's trade deadline. So basically, just to wrap up, in my opinion, Colorado, Winnipeg, Dallas, Vancouver, Vegas, and Edmonton are all going to be buyers at this year's trade deadline. And it's just a matter of what exactly are they going to buy at this year's trade deadline. LA, St. Louis, Seattle, Nashville, and Arizona, not exactly sure what sort of direction they're going. They could go buy direction, they could go to sell direction, they could buy and sell, or they could stand pat, not exactly sure what they're going to do. And the next couple of weeks are really going to determine exactly what those teams are going to do right before a trade deadline. If they fall a little bit out of the playoff race, it's a very likely chance they could be sellers, maybe even if they're around the playoff race. So we'll have to wait and see exactly how that goes. And I think Calgary, Minnesota, Chicago, San Jose, Anaheim are all probably going to be sellers at this year's trade deadline. Flames have already started moving off pieces, but all those teams are pretty decently out of a playoff position. Flames are 5, Wild are 7. The other ones are a lot out of a playoff spot. And I think all those guys will probably wind up being sellers at this year's trade deadline. So I'll have to wait and see exactly how everything goes. But that's sort of the way I see things right now. I'll have to wait and see exactly who could possibly buy and sell going into a trade deadline. So that's all I'm going to talk about for today. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on all this down in the comment section below. Do you agree with me? Do you think that those 6 teams are going to be buyers? 5 teams are a little bit undecided right now, and those other 5 teams are going to be sellers? And if not, who do you think could be buyers or sellers at this year's trade deadline? Definitely love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Plus, what do you think about the World Junior updates, the Arizona situation updates, the signings, waiver updates, injury updates, and what do you think about the All-Star games, the 3 that happened on Saturday? Plus, what do you think about the last 2 games that happened yesterday of NHL action as we get back into the NHL swing of things? Definitely love to hear your guys' thoughts on all of that down in the comment section below. That's all I'm going to talk about for today. Remember to like this video, and if you're like to subscribe down below. Thank you for all your support I've never been able to do with all of you guys. So don't forget to subscribe so we can 250 subscribers. I also do a blog talking about news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that, so if you check that out, I'll leave a link to that in the description below, and I can't wait to see you guys all for next video. See you guys soon.